You know, when people enter the college ranks, they don't expect to be drafted number one. It might happen. It's a once in a year shot. But when that number one draft pick decides to forego the NFL for the CFL for more money, you know it's going to be front page news. Now this guy, although he wasn't francophone, I think that really benefited him when he signed with the Montreal Alouettes. Now Tom Cousineau, for a short period in the late 1970s, was literally the best college player in the world. Now, born Thomas Michael Cousineau in Fairview Park, Ohio, played college football and pro football in the CFL and NFL, and also excelled at Ohio State University, where he was a two-time All-American. He was the first overall pick of the '79 NFL entry draft, and played professionally for the CFL's Montreal Alouettes and the Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers of the NFL. Now, he's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, elected in 2016. He's also a member of the Ohio State Varsity Hall of Fame, inducted in 1995, and the St. Edward High School Hall of Fame. Now, Cousineau was also the recipient of the Silver Anniversary Butkus Award in 2003. Now, born to Carol and Tom Cousineau Sr., who was the head football and wrestling coach at Lakewood High, his mother did not want him to play football under the shadow of his father. Thus, Cousineau played high school football for nearby St. Edward High School, which is numerous blocks away in Lakewood. He excelled and was one of the most highly recruited football players in the country in his senior year. He eventually graduated in 1975. Now, he was also an accomplished wrestler. Now, in that year, 75, under legendary coach Howard Ferguson, he lost to future NFL player Bob Golick from the crosstown all-boys school rival St. Joseph's in the Ohio State Wrestling Tournament semifinals in the heavyweight class. The match has been called one of the most memorable ever, as Golick would go on to win the state title and Cousineau would finish with a bronze. Now, Golick would go on to be a two-time All-American at heavyweight at Notre Dame. Now, Cousineau and Golick would eventually become teammates in the NFL with the Browns. Now, Cousineau, like I said, he attended Ohio State, where he played for legendary coach Woody Hayes' Buckeyes football team from 75 to 78. Now, I saw Cousineau play numerous college games, especially bowl games, and he was devastating. Quick, fast, a modern defensive player that you more likely to see in 2021 than in 1976 or 78. Now, during that span, Ohio State had an overall record of 36-10-2 and 28-4 in the Big Ten, and they were three-time Big Ten champs. The Buckeyes played 4 bowl games after each of the seasons he took part in the Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and Gator Bowl. They were a top 5 team for 36 weeks over those 4 years and a number 1 team in the nation for 8 weeks in 1975, and ultimately finished 4th, 6th, and 12th in the final AP Press Bowls in 75, 76, and 77, respectively. Now, Cousineau was a very cerebral guy. He majored in marketing. Again, he was a consensus first-team All-American, breaking the school record with 211 tackles in a single season in 1978. Now, to put this in perspective, usually Ohio State will play about 12 games, so he's looking at 18 to 20 tackles contests. Now, in 1978, like I said, 17.5 tackles. He also broke the school record for most tackles in the game with 29 against Penn State in 78 and was the MVP of the 1977 Orange Bowl. Now, Cousineau's last game for the Buckeyes was the infamous 1978 Gator Bowl against Clemson, during which Coach Woody Hayes punched Clemson linebacker Charlie Bauman in the final minutes of the contest. He was fired the following day for the major incident. Now, Cousineau still holds many of Iowa State's tackling records. As of 2016, he holds 6 of the top 10 single-game tackling records, 29 single-game tackles, since tied by fellow College Football Hall of Famer Chris Spielman, most solo tackles in a game, which was 16 against Southern Methodist in 1978. He also ranks second on both the all-time OSU tackle lists with 569, three behind Marcus Marek, and on the career solo tackles list with 259. Now, named All-American in 77 and 78, and was MVP of the Big Ten by a vote on the Chicago Tribune. He graduated from Iowa State in 1979. In 2016, he became the 25th Ohio State player along with 7 Buckeye coaches, to be named to the College Football Hall of Fame. Now, here's where the drama comes in. He was drafted first overall in the 79 NFL entry by the Bills, who acquired the pick as part of a package of 5 draft picks from the 49ers in a 78 trade for O.J. Simpson. However, he never played a game for the Bills. He instead signed with the Alouettes, who took him for double the money originally offered by the Bills. Now, I've heard different rumors, heavy lower 6 figures, 225 to 240, but I don't have the contract in front of me. Now, Cousineau eventually became a star for the Alouettes, who had won the 1977 Grey Cup, got back there in 79 and was named the MVP of the game in 79 despite losing in Edmonton. He only played in 4 games in his 3rd season because of an elbow injury while the Alouettes collapsed. This was 1981. Now in 82, Cousineau wanted to return to the NFL, choosing to forgo 2 optional years with the Alouettes. The owners attempted to sign him, but the Bills, who still held his rights, matched the offer. Now Cleveland Browns owner Art Modell had long been interested in signing him. Cousineau was then traded from the Bills to the Cleveland Browns for a first-rounder in the 83 draft, 14 overall, plus a 2nd and 3rd choice in subsequent years. Ironically, that first-round pick was used on future Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly. Now, Cousineau eventually signed a 5-year contract for $2.5 million, the highest contract ever at the time by the Browns, and of course, he made a cover of SI. Now, bad news that followed him, unfortunately. He was arrested in 1983 in connection with a minor collision with a police car on St. Patrick's Day. He was eventually charged with drunk driving, improperly using traffic lanes, and not having his driver's license on him. He was subsequently found not guilty of the drunk driving charge, but guilty of the moving violation. The driver's license charge was dropped. Now, during Cousineau's 4 seasons with the Browns, he led the team in tackles for 3 years. In the 83 campaign, he intercepted 4 passes and was named a 2nd team All-NFL by the NEA. He was also named 2nd team All-NFL by the AP in 84, but never made the Pro Bowl in his career, which he deserved too. He would be easily 2nd or 3rd backup. He was considered by many, and I didn't see this, but that's what the published reports say, an overpaid disappointment in Cleveland, while Bills fans finally remember the fact that the man who once snubbed them for the CFL was traded for Jim Kelly. Cousineau eventually signed with the 49ers as a free agent after the 85 season, where he played 2 years in reserve before retiring in 87. He finished his NFL career with 10 interceptions and 6.5 career sacks. Now, St. Edward eventually inducted Cousineau to the school's Athletic Hall of Fame. He married his wife Lisa on June 16, 1990, and has 2 daughters, Kyle and Casey. Now, on February 8, 2006, Cousineau announced plans to run for a seat in the Ohio House of Representatives as a Republican in the Akron area. He won the May primary but lost the November election to Democrat Brian Williams, 58 to 42%. Now, on April 20th, 2009, Cousineau joined the St. Vincent St. Mary High School football coaching staff as a linebacker coach. He later went on to be the linebackers coach at St. Edward High School of Ohio. Now, Cousineau was a media darling in Canada. Very nice looking, very good with the press, and because he had a francophone last name, a lot of the Quebec fans really enjoyed his presence on the team. And with people like Gordon Judges, Glenn Weir, other veteran players that he could benefit from. You see, that's a lost 2 years for Montreal, because Edmonton, that 5 straight, there was no team in all the CFL was going to be at Edmonton. So technically, they were the best team in the East between 1974 and 1979. That was 5 Grey Cups he appeared, but the problem is he lost in 75 to Edmonton, and bet them in 77, and lost in 78 and 79 in relatively close scores. Now, again, career history: Montreal Alouettes 79-81, Cleveland 82-85, San Francisco 86-87, 2nd team All-Pro 84 at NFL, Grey Cup MVP 1979, and a CFL All-Star in 1980. And again, College Football Hall of Fame, well-deserved induction. Now, you talked to a member of the Canadian media about Tom Cousineau. He was pretty well ranked as a top 10 or top 20 defensive player for the years he played with the Alouettes. But you got to understand, Olympic Stadium, the artificial turf, it was a tough place to play. He was better on the road. I saw him games against Edmonton, especially the big field out there, Ottawa. And, Montreal was a powerhouse, media-wise, but I think the money that was paid out for him, Biletnikoff, White Shoes, Ferragamo, Overstreet, everybody else, even David Green, came back to haunt him because Scalabania, he was pretty well bankrupt. And the Montreal Alouettes were the team in the 70s. By the time they folded in the late 80s, they were a team to forget. But when we were rocking with the Alouettes, again, every game was the closest the CFL ever got until Edmonton took over that banner. We were the closest to an NFL team. Edmonton was number one, and we were number one. It would vary. Sometimes Toronto as well, because Toronto had a lot of marquee players, Conrad Holloway, which I've seen play back in these glory years in '83. But the Eastern Division, where Montreal was king, boys oh boys, it was a great time. And to see, I don't know how they convinced Cousineau to come in. Maybe they just offered him, when you talk about the famous 30 for 30 documentary with the SMU boosters, how they got certain players. I don't know if money changed hands. It's not for me to say. But why would somebody pick to play in Montreal? Well, it was a summer league. He probably went home in the winter. But still, when's the last time you heard a number one draft pick for the NHL or Major League Baseball or the NFL choosing a league in another country to open their career? It'll never happen again unless I'm completely losing it here. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of the legendary Tom Cousineau. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And don't forget, the contract you signed means money on the barrel. If the money's there, please sign. Because money can't cry for you, but the money can fill up the bank, as we like to say. Thanks for listening. Bye.